I'm Simon King, and this is What's Wrong. It's more podcasts than you can handle legally. Actually, we are now. There was a bylaw passed, and we're not allowed to. This is an illegal podcast now. Wouldn't that be great if it's like pirate radio podcasting? And this is the weird part: is like the people at home who are listening. If you're listening to this, you could be watching it. You could be on YouTube right now on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/thecitizenstrange, which I'm not proud of, but I'm not going to change my YouTube now. There's nothing I can do. It was
what are you not proud of?
It was from when I was much younger. I thought I would have a sketch comedy show called The Citizen Strange, which I thought was a good name for a show. Right. Because I was driving past, I was in LA at the time. I was driving past a collision place. It said Citizen Collision. And I thought that sounds like just a cool thing. But I said, you can't call it Citizen Collision because then it just sounds like some sort of weird, like amateur American Gladiator thing.
Plus trademark issues.
Right, they might get upset with it, right? They'll be like, hey, it's a show about our automotive shop. What the fuck is this?
Then you go past In-N-Out Burger, like, that'd be a great name for a podcast.
Yeah, In-N-Out Burger Podcast. This is the In-N-Out Burger Podcast. Animal Style. That would be what we call the Animal Style Podcast. It's all your veggies and thingies. All your veggies and thingies. The astute amongst you have noticed that we have now a slightly different setup where the microphones are obscuring as much of my face as possible, thanks to your many letters and kind postcards telling me to hide more of my face. That's what I'm doing now. So I wanted it to look like I'm talking into a decapitated Mickey Mouse ear. I'll give you the money. And if you're listening at home, you may have already heard the dulcet tones of my wonderful guest. Now, normally I would go off here and rant and rave, but I want to get right to my guest today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the wonderful, the talented, a very good friend of mine, fantastic comedian, Brett Martin, ladies and gentlemen. Brett Martin, here he is.
Hello.
There we go. Look at that. Wow.
Full of vigor.
Worthy of the fanfare. Hey, how are you?
That's one I usually get. That's my excited tone.
You don't do well with positivity. Any positivity, you're like flinching at the clapping.
It's weird. Loud sounds got to get me off.
You have a very
I make me come, is what I meant.
There you go. You have a very mellow tone, which melatonin. That's the name of your album. Melatonin. Melatonin jokes to sleep by.
That's actually not bad.
That's a good. That's melatonin, and that sounds like a singer from the '70s. Hey, lady. It's just a lot of. He just rattles off 1 sheep, 2 sheep, 3 sheep. And it was like, it's like early ASMR, right? But I was gonna say you would be an amazing ghost to have haunting your house because you would just be a very mellow ghost, right?
We'll be kind of laid back. A lot of sleeping.
Yeah. I'd be like, I wonder if the ghost is home. You'd be like, hey, what's up? You're just like over by the fridge.
Turned it back to Seinfeld.
Yeah, just haunting with shit that you want them to do. Like you don't want them to get out because they're paying the rent, so you're like happy to have them there. you're like more Cheetos. Who said that?
Just like a dude ghost who just wants to watch Seinfeld and eat Cheetos.
If you could haunt anywhere, like if you write, okay, so you leave here because of the neighborhood where you get stabbed to death immediately, and then now you're like, everyone at home knows that we spare no expense when finding the place available within our budget. But it is a fantastic studio, actually. We do love the studio very much. They have supplied us with these Mickey Mouse ears and wonderful microphones, and we do. But it is in a part of town where Batman often doesn't come. You know? He's
giving up on it?
He's like, you know what? You don't need a Dark Knight here. What you need is some bleach.
Yeah, if you get stabbed, those would be with needles. It'll be a slow death.
Yeah.
Right.
I saw a needle on the ground the other day. It actually fell out of the guy's pocket. It fell out. It was in front. It was in like Langley. So that's a suburb for anyone. It was like a suburb of Vancouver. It's like this sort of like small towny suburb. And it was a guy, obviously a heroin aficionado, and he was someone, some sort of heroin sommelier, and he was outside a convenience store. And I'm live and let live, man. That's you do. You're on your journey. I'm on mine. I don't want to get involved in this. It's up to you. I'm not. But then the guy walks out in front of the stores, a 7-Eleven, and out of his pocket falls a needle full of red liquid. Now I don't know much about heroin, but I don't think it's red. No. Is it?
I don't know.
Do you know a lot about heroin?
Some, but not that much.
No, not that much. But if you know anything about heroin, you're saying, yeah, it's fucking red, dude. In fact, that's nice stuff.
Maybe got a special red heroin.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's like Mountain Dew Code Red heroin. It's like Code Red heroin. He's like, this shit's fucking great. Like, it's like heroin, but so much better. But anyway, so I don't want to bug the guy because he's living his life. He's doing what he's doing. But that needle falls out of his pocket. It falls on the ground, and now it's this big
scramble.
This needle, yeah, there's this needle there in front of this car, right on the walkway with red liquid in it. And I'm like, well, I'm not touching that. because
Lame.
I know. Because I don't know if my life insurance covers complete fucking stupidity. So what I'm gonna do, I go inside and I say, "Hey man," because I just come out when I saw. I go, "Hey man," and he goes, "Yeah," and I go, "Outside, there's a needle on the ground." And he goes, "Yeah." I go, "No, I know, normal needle, but this one's full of a suspicious liquid." He's like, "Oh, okay, thanks, man, thanks." And then as I'm leaving, he just goes back to his fucking phone call. I'm like, "Okay, so what do I do at this point? Like, what do I at this point? Did I fulfill my contractual obligation as a human being?"
Yeah, even by saying something, you went over and above. Actually, you're supposed to just like, who cares? And
You're supposed to ignore it.
Yeah.
Just wait for a fucking syphilis epidemic.
So the red was blood, right?
I assume it was.
Okay, I didn't know if it was drugs. Probably blood, right?
Well,
What
I
was
think
insulin?
when you pull up, maybe it was his insulin. Maybe the poor fucker. But I think when
Kills over
because I don't know. This is how little I know about any drugs. But I think when you pull back, the blood comes into it a bit, and then you're saving it. And you're like, I'm ready to go when it's needle time. And I literally saw it fall out of his pocket.
Oh wow!
And I was like, he's gonna want that.
What,
Like,
you
I
just
don't
carry
know.
on spare blood just in case he needs it?
I don't know. I mean,
Maybe he's a vampire.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Maybe he's like, maybe he's got
daywalker.
mosquitoes to feed. I don't know what the fuck's going on. But so I felt at that point, like as I was driving away as fast as I could. As I was driving away, I thought to myself, I should have probably done more in that situation, shouldn't I?
No.
No, like I said, by even alerting the 7-Eleven guy, which was foolhardy. Like he's going to
Yeah,
right
he's
out
not
and try
gonna
to
do
save the
shit.
day.
I knew right then he looked at me like he's like, dude, I'm making $11 an hour. I'm not fucking touching
They
anything.
can't even keep the hot dogs fresh. He doesn't know what to do with the needle.
Anything other than throwing it in the garbage would have been unnecessary.
Well, I said to him, do you have one of those grabby things? And I went like this. And maybe
Like
he
the
thought,
hot dog tongs.
maybe he thought, does 7-Eleven serve crab? Yes. Imagine if 7-Eleven served crab. Ooh, that'd be suspect as shit. You get out of a bar at 2:00 in the morning. You know what I want? Some 7-Eleven crab. 7 C's 11. That's what I want.
7 C's.
There's a crabs joke in there somewhere. But
There is a crabs joke in there.
That's
We'll
all I can
find
do
it.
now as a comic. I follow that point. I can identify there's a joke somewhere, but I can't make it.
Yeah.
Outsource it. Someone write it for me.
You need a seeing eye comic is what you need. You need a comic with you to be like to sniff
Over
out
there,
the
they're funny.
Oh, okay. A seeing eye comic. I guess that's what a writer is, really, isn't it?
I guess so.
Would you ever use a writer
Uh,
for like stand up, not for like if you're
No,
doing
I
a
don't
talk
think
show?
I
or some
could.
shit. No, I couldn't either.
No.
I couldn't.
I have trouble actually if something I write out. I have trouble saying. So
yeah.
it
Well,
really
that's because you
needs
can't read.
to- Or write.
Well, the weird thing is you can write, but you can't read.
just a circle.
That's the difficult part. Is you're able to write anything, but you have no idea what it is.
Stand up. It's really I can't write it out and say it. Like it just loses something. I need to
Yeah.
really just
Yeah.
it needs to be created on stage. So,
Yeah.
yeah. There's no way I could take someone else's that's written.
Yeah.
Well, arguably, it would be better than something I think of. But
Yeah.
there's just no way that I could turn it into.
We're very
stand-up.
similar that way. Like I have to. I come up with an idea and then I rant it out and then I remember the spots that work and then I sometimes I'll write down little bits of it if there's a little bit that I riff that I don't want to forget for sure. It's like this bit I need to remember. Because the next time, because you have to do a bit like 10 or 12 times before it kind of kicks in. But yeah, I never understood stand-up that used writers because I think I understand like if you're doing the Oscars, you're hosting that or something like that, or whatever it is you're doing. I understand that. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, of course. But I even have a hard time if someone gives me a tag. I don't like doing it. I'm like, nah. If I can get there, I don't want to do it.
I will take a good tag.
I should. I just won't because I'm stupid. Like there's people who are like, this is a great tag, and I'm like, it's a fucking great tag. I wish you hadn't said anything. To the point where once a comic was like, I have a tag for you. I was like, and they're like, I'm not gonna say anything, but this is the area it's in. And I just kind of found it myself, and they're like, that's the one. I was like, oh, thank God. Because
Something to tag is literally because it'll be like one thing. It's basically like you have made a painting, and they'll be like, oh, it's just a dab of red there. You're like, oh yeah,
it needs a monkey. You
Yeah.
need a monkey. So you got all those windmills and daffodils, and fucking put a monkey right there.
And a Hitler. I'm like, I did need a Hitler.
That would be a great like a job would be painter punch up paint guy. It's like bring your paintings to me, I'll make them better. And you just bring a painting and it's like I love these red pagodas. They're fucking great. Have you thought about a wheelbarrow with a little guy in the front? I never thought about it. Just put a wheelbarrow with a little guy. See what happens. And it just like blows up.
Originally, the Mona Lisa was smiling too much. He's like,
Yeah.
tone down the smile a little
Bring it
bit.
down. Bring it down. Bring it down a touch. Make her a little ambiguous. What's going on? You know? What's happening?
There was a dude. It was like Steve Lisa. And it had short hair. Like,
Yeah, they're like, no, we gotta.
Make her a woman.
Yeah, I want people to not know who this is.
Lisa.
I just love giving tags actually. So I think the karma's fair on taking one.
Yeah, that's true. I do give tags because I assume everyone wants my opinion.
Because I'll be watching stand-ups, and then I kind of play along in my head. I try, where's it going? So I'll have a line that I think they're going to go with, and it doesn't go there. I'm like, this would work. So it's like a play along at home game.
If someone gives you a tag after your set, are you offended, or does it depend on who's giving it to you? Never, eh?
No.
It will be offensive if it's someone who's done comedy like once.
Like an open micer pulling you aside.
It's a little bit like, I know you missed a couple of tricks here. It's like, oh, did you?
Yeah, but they give you a tag. It's brilliant. They're like, oh my god. How do you know you're the worst comic I've ever seen?
Yeah, that's even worse. They can't do their own shit, but they can fix yours. You're like, fuck off. You can't take it out of principle at that point. You're like, I can't accept your fucking help. I'm sorry. It's brilliant. You're the best writer I've ever met, but I can't have anything to do with you. In fact, I'm having you banned.
What's the worst comedy advice you've gotten?
Do comedy. You should do comedy.
Worst comedy advice, Jesus.
Has that ever like giving you advice and right away you're like, yeah, that's not gonna help at all?
Probably. No, and I just fuck. I can't even remember. There's obviously been lots. Yeah, do comedy, like continue. Like when you go to this town, man, I can't even think of the worst comedy advice I've ever gotten.
I've had some bad advice because of the kind of way I deliver. And the kind of material I do and stuff. A lot of the advice was, you need to slow down, or you need to change what you do.
Well, some variation of not be yourself.
Yeah, don't be you. Yeah, be like me. There's a bunch of old headliners out there that realized that like the only way to stop you was to make you more like them because they had failed and proved that it works. So like if I want to stop this kid, I have to make him do what I do. But yeah, like there's a weird thing of like that's a weird thing with some older comics too. They want you to be like them. But then also not as good as them. Weird.
Just keep right below.
Any variation of when I was definitely newer, there'd be a lot of like, hey, maybe don't swear as much or don't be as dirty.
Yeah.
But, and maybe that advice would probably have been helpful to have taken. I probably would have gotten some like CBC stuff or something.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's not who I wanted to be. Right. So even though the path has been way worse, the one I ended up taking, I'm happy with it. I'd rather be me than not be me and succeed.
That's what it is, right? It's like, what are you doing it for? Because there's way easier ways to make a living. There's way easier ways to make, to be happier, to be more comfortable in your life, and to do. But I mean, if you're doing stand-up comedy because something in you wants to do stand-up comedy, doing it for the right reasons is we were sitting around once and there was a documentary filmmaker guy and he was like. There was a bunch of comics, and he goes, what's the worst part of stand-up? And, what's the worst outcome for a show? And like, every comic was like, bombing is the worst. And I was like, doing well for the wrong reasons. Like, doing well and finding out that you can kill doing stuff you fucking hate or don't want to do or can't bring yourself to do is the worst. Because then you're like, shit, that must be what it's like to get trapped in a character. Like, you just get stuck. Right. Like, one day you do this voice, and you're like, and you're like, fuck!
People love it. They love it.
And
now
then
I
you're
be the
done.
person all the time. And then after the show, like, when do I stop being that fake person?
Yeah. Right.
And that you have to live that lie your whole life. And
some people do. I
can think of two of them off the top of my head.
Yeah, me too. They just turn into character. Mikey Greenwood, that's not even his real name. Mikey Greenwood's a Swedish 19-year-old girl.
I'm not really forgetful in real life.
He's not really forgetful at all. He's got a mind like a steel trap. The beard's a stick-on. None of it's real.
This all comes off as soon as I come home.
It's Steve Lisa.
That's why I call him Mikey Chameleon Greenwood. Yeah, so his name's actually Black Metal. Mikey Black Metal. Mikey, that's your evil twin is Mikey Black Metal. I produced the King Simon podcast. Dear God, everything's wrong.
Who are the guys you're talking? You can't mention them by name, but what traits have they like? What were they like before, and who have they become?
Well, one guy in specific I knew. He was like very gruff, and just actually a really decent guy. And then I hadn't seen him for a few years, and then had a completely different way of speaking. And wasn't as good a guy anymore. It's like by having to compromise himself to that level, he just changed who he was and lost himself.
That's weird, right? Like, so the existed as the antithesis of the grumpy character was what made him stay good. Like when he wasn't himself, or was he just himself the whole time?
He was just himself the whole time, and then by not being able to be that anymore, it's like I think he was aware somewhere within himself that he'd compromised himself to do that.
Okay.
And then maybe there's like the shame of that, so he couldn't be who he was before.
Right.
So like I've never actually. The guy that I got to know and I've never got to speak to since he became this other.
That's so weird, and because people go through changes like that too. But to have such a fundamental, 180-degree switch is such a big deal. It's like, you do see it. Like there's certain comics I can think of that there's no need to name names, but like they play maybe they play an asshole on stage, or maybe they play a super nice guy on stage, and then in real life they are the opposite of that, and it's almost like that's part of them trying to get out to be that. But you're right, like it's weird to think of like, yeah, they almost like you feel like you're betraying yourself. So you can't go back to that. You know, like
I think
you can't
there's
be that person
maybe
again.
a guilt, maybe a shame. I think a shame maybe more than anything, because you probably know that, like, all right, I'm dealing with someone who knows who I actually am and knew me before I was this, and then that's kind of weird, and so I'll just ignore them and avoid them, and I don't have to deal with what I know I've done, and probably don't feel good about. But at the same time, I can understand why I've done that, because what he does on stage has become wildly successful.
Yeah.
Really?
So it's a tough line. Luckily, I don't have to worry about wild success, so I don't need to.
That's why you're here. I mean, we have a very low ceiling on what's acceptable for success.
And is he wildly successful?
We've already pushed it too many times.
Entertainment, or in like, did he sell his soul for Canadian comedy, or did he get successful in like
Canadian?
Okay,
but
that's a low price to sell your soul for.
Completely sell your
that's
soul
not
for
even
like
3 magic
the
beans.
debaters.
but in Canadian comedy, had done everything that if you were to say, oh, what would be a cool thing to get, he's got all of them and then some.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And yeah, like. It's, I don't know, to each their own. It's not for me. It's obviously for him.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I couldn't imagine, like, I mean, the thing I do like about it's funny because when I started out as a comic, everyone was going about, hey, you got to be honest in stand up. And that is true. The way they were saying it was wrong. But it was like, you have to talk about yourself on stage. No. What you have to do is, like, Brian Regan is one of the most honest comedians I've ever seen, because that is who he is. That is who is, as far as I know from the few times I've met him, that is the person he is. So it's a very honest representation of who they are. I think honesty in stand-up is really important if that's what you choose to do. I mean, if you're just being a stand-up to be like goofy and weird, and like Steve Martin, Wild and Crazy Guy, that wasn't Steve Martin. Right. It might have been who he was when he started stand-up, but that's if he did it now, it would be disingenuous and weird because he's 70 years old. I mean, I think there's something about, like, I think if you funnel yourself into a character and then become that character and let go of who you actually are, no matter what success you get out of that, it can't feel good. I mean, at least in my opinion. Because, like, I'd sell out tomorrow if I could at this point. But, I mean, it's after 15 years or 20 years of not selling out. I'm not being asked, by the way. It's not like anyone called me. It's not like the fucking Affleck people called me to replace Rob Schneider when he fucking didn't make it.
But at the same time, for the complete opposite perspective, it's like Gilbert Gottfried. Like, that's not his actual voice.
What? I know.
But at the same time, like, I fucking love it. It kills me.
But maybe that's how he is honest, though. That's the other thing, is you could use a character to find the honest part of yourself. Like, that sense of humor that he has cannot come from... You can't manufacture that as a character.
No, true. You have to have that sort of fucked up, dark place
and that angst, the voice that comes off kind of represents an angst almost.
It's like Bob Goldthwait. Like, Bob Goldthwait had that character in the 80s and 90s.
And has dropped it, though.
And has dropped it. But... There was something about that character. It was like it was like this punk rock anarchist sort of, fuck everything sort of character, which really fit. But seeing what I see of him now, and I think he had the same sensibilities. I think he just added. But I'm talking about someone who's like, if you're a totally different person on stage, like you're just not. Seinfeld hates him.
Have you seen the rant about him?
No, why?
Oh, because he hates Seinfeld.
Yeah, exactly.
Do they hate each other?
In Comedians in Cars, drinking coffee, Bobcat Goldthwait, just his name comes up and he's like, fuck. Like, he doesn't say fuck that guy, it was the closest to Seinfeld having a rant. He's like, fuck that guy. Like, comedy was so dangerous for him. Comedy was so dangerous. Where's he now? And, like, the person he's ranting to, she's like, I'm kind of good friends with them, actually.
Yeah, it's like, what the fuck?
Well, he said something, or Bobcat said something to the effect of, like, the best thing Seinfeld ever did was become friends with Larry David.
Oh, God.
Well, I mean, I don't know if it was the best thing, but it was a good thing. It was a smart fucking move.
It worked out.
I mean, I would have been friends with Larry David, Although it's funny to think of, like, you think about, like, when they describe Larry David about, like, how his divorce happened and everything, like, what it basically was just that his wife that Larry David just became too tedious. It wasn't even like a passionate divorce. It was just like, because I think it was on Comedians in Cars. He's like, yeah, she didn't like that I didn't drink a hot beverage in the morning. Or he didn't like that she didn't, whatever it was. And then he's like, and I would bring it up every day. And she'd be like, oh, fuck, that's it. I can't take it. And I'm like, what a beautiful way.
Yeah.
It's like, why did you and Dad get divorced? Well, she wouldn't drink coffee. So.
And there's authenticity in comedy. It's like Larry David could not be anything but himself. Like, just miserable, hates things. And not even big things. He hates little things. And it drives him insane. And that's... Yeah, and he's found a way to make that funny, not only through him, but through other people. Like, Seinfeld is hilarious because of his...
Yeah, and that's the appeal. You bring that part out in other people, and that's that thing about, like, so when you talk about using writers for, like, shows or for, like, things like that, like, so I wrote a sketch show a little while ago, and I wrote it, I was on a deadline, so I wrote it myself, and And mostly I kind of know what I want to do anyway. A lot of my sketch is very much like my stand-up. It's just like short bursts of particular ideas that become things. Very manic, usually hyper-violent, ridiculous, usually way over budget. And then I passed it over to the very lovely Dylan Reimer, who went through and read it, and he's like, this is really funny, but this is very clearly written by one person. And he's like, this is what I would change. And it was all good advice because it's stuff, because your sense of humor is so honed in a certain way, particularly the longer you've been a comedian, the longer you've been, that you just can't see it from another angle because that's not how your brain works. It's like, I would love to be able to write a filthy, like, just a blue set, like a full-on 1 hour of blue material. I've never done it. I got asked to do a dirty show a few years ago, and I cobbled together 8 minutes of dirty, and it just went dark at the end because that's not how my brain works. Now, I would love to be able to do it. I just can't quite figure out how to do it properly. So having someone else that has that sensibility look at what you're doing and then give you input when it comes to like...
You just need to add more fuck words.
Yeah, well, hey, more fisting material, man.
I don't know. John C. Reilly talking about fisting.
Hey, have you guys thought about like doing some real fisting?
That's a good John C. Reilly.
Thanks.
That's good, right?
Yeah. Hey,
I should just John C. Reilly's sex advice.
So, Lonely in Tacoma, Iowa, wrote in and was really interested in knowing about putting stuff up the butt.
Close your eyes again. I feel like I'm here with him.
Yeah.
We're like halfway in Step Brothers.
Speaking of putting stuff up your butt.
We can't do one episode without stupid impressions. Do you do an impression?
No, I can't do impressions. This is my vocal range.
This is it right here. This is your vocal range. His answering machine.
Yeah, I can't do.
Do you have one of like a non-celebrity or something?
Oh, sorry?
A non-celebrity or like someone you know?
My landlord, Tomo. Hey, I'm Tomo.
That's pretty good.
Hey, I'm Tomo.
I felt like I was late on rent or something.
But the thing is, I hate when impressionists just do catchphrases, right? Like, hey, I'm Tomo. That's his catchphrase. So it's like...
I can't even do accents. It'll drive my girlfriend crazy, like, because her family's all Norwegian. So,
Yeah.
So we're going to the store today. It's like, how is that Norwegian? Like, to me, in my head, fully...
fully. You're eating a piece of whale right now. You're like fully eating whale.
But it sounds a lot like my British accent, which is, hello, let's go to the store.
That's pretty good.
Oh, let's try Russian. Going to the store.
That was
kill Ukraine.
weird. That was a very weird.
I don't even know how Russians speak.
Angrily.
Yeah. Wow. If you're Russian and you're listening to this and you're nice, do something about your fucking boss. Anyway, sorry. Why are you listening to this?
He's denazifying the Ukraine, all right? It's a special military operation.
Denazifying.
What a great PR spin. He's like, I'm not invading. I'm ridding them of the potential Nazis in the area.
But that's the thing, is like, if you're ridding people of potential Nazis, like, have you been to Russia? Like, there's a lot of potential Nazis. Potential Nazis. The thing is, potential Nazis are
They're the
always
most dangerous
just...
kind.
They don't even know they're Nazis yet.
Everyone's a potential Nazi if A, a girl never touches their dick, or B, they lose at sports, or they get dunked on. And that's all it fucking is. And then they're like, "Rah!"
And the only way to get rid of these potential Nazis is to raze the towns that they might be in. Like, just bomb to the ground.
Yeah, if you want people to...
It's to shoot civilians. That's the only way.
The thing is, not everyone's going to welcome you as a liberator unless there's no one left. And that's how you can be sure, because you know what? It's real easy to build when the land is flat.
Fact is, you go to that town. When there's no one left, there's also no Nazis.
No Nazis,
Yeah.
exactly. There's nobody here, man. I don't think
the
Nazis
only way-
either, though.
Nazi-free.
Nazi-free.
The only way to make sure there's no one right is to make sure there's no one left. That's his slogan.
But I guess Russia could use that on America too. Like, they're going to invade America. Like, why you invade America? Like, look at all the potential Nazis there. We got to get rid of them. So
That's the thing,
reason
but
can be
there's
used for
potential
anything.
Nazis everywhere, right?
Exactly.
Like, I think the only place there's no potential Nazis is probably like the Arctic. I don't think there's a lot of Inuit Nazis.
But there could be.
There could be.
Yes,
never
potential
know.
Nazis.
Hidden seals pretending it's a Jewish person.
Seems a little weird. He's the only Inuit Nazi. That's a dichotomy. Is that correct? Look that up.
Yeah. Dichotomy works.
Dichotomy. Why not? That does sound like a crooner song. Dichotomy, such a dichotomy.
Sounds like a medical procedure.
Oh, man.
I went and got my dichotomy done.
I'm sorry to tell you, your wife, she had to have a dichotomy. Is she going to be okay? Well, I mean, yes and no.
You know how dichotomies go. They can be hit or miss. Yeah.
It's good and it's bad. And That's just writing a procedural script but not knowing any of the medical terms. It's like doctor comes in, reports a problem with a simile. I don't know. Anyway, so we'll get someone to go through and read all this. Well, years ago I wrote a script. I wrote a show called Pilot Error, which was. The idea was that like I got a small amount of money to develop a script, but I couldn't be bothered to write a script. So what I did was I got access to all the unmade pilots that were ever written, and I would go every week. I would go through one of the show, like everything from 1950 up to basically like now, and I would just take one of the scripts and I would make it spelling mistakes and all, like everything that was wrong about it, but with no money. So the first one was a PI who loses 1979 PI who loses his license for drink driving. So he can't get his license. His name is Danner Hyde, and so he ends up teaming up with a South Asian cab driver who can read minds. Who drives the cab, so he's always in his cab, and the South Asian cab driver reads minds, and it's hide and seek is the name of the show. And the cab driver, so every time someone gets in a cab, he reads the guy's mind, and then tells Danner, he's like, oh, this is how he's always. So it was like a buddy comedy. But then the thing is, the writing specific. It's so fun to write a bad script because the whole thing was written so poorly. Like the bartender at the local watering hole just kept saying "man" every like third word. He was like, man, that's the way it is, man. Because the guy wrote it clearly has no idea how cool people talk. Right. So I wrote that show, and then it was
the meter always running in the cab like that?
That's the thing. It was a magic cab. He never charged anyone any money. That's the only way to find out who he was. And then it was a drug deal that went wrong, and then at the end, because his partner was killed, I think it was, I can't remember. And then there was a guy who had a heavy plastic surgery to change the way he looked, which really was just he put glasses on. That's really all it was. And then that's how the guy the cab driver finds out who he is, and then tells him before. Danner Hyde is constantly on the edge of suicide. Constantly, just always on the edge of suicide.
Can't handle the stress.
If I don't get my license back, how am I going to be a cop? And he's just like, before I kill myself,
you're 53.
It's like, what's going on with you? Then it was roundly rejected. I'm going to do a podcast once, just where we just read scripts of shows that I never got made.
Patreon.
Actually, yeah, that would be a good Patreon episode, is to have a bunch of people with your dulcet tones. You'd be a great Danner Hyde. We're fine.
And convincing as someone who's lost his license.
You do, yeah, you have that look to you.
I've lost my license.
I lost my license too.
Yeah.
I've never lost mine. I've thrown it away. Just off
I got too many tickets in too short period of time. And
They can do that?
Oh man. Yeah.
It was so bad. Though. Speeding tickets.
No, speeding.
Oh, okay.
A couple of cell phones. And it was so bad that the ICBC guy started laughing when he was reading off. He's like, oh man, you're fucked.
And how long did they take it for? They take it for like 3 months, right?
It's been like 6 months now. Yeah. Because I'll just save money by not getting it.
Right.
It's always when someone behind a keyboard that has your fate in their hands laughs. That's not good. You're not getting a loan.
But also him knowing enough that he can laugh, knowing that I'm aware of how bad it is. I'm not going to upset with him for laughing. I'm going to join in the laugh.
We're all on the same team. Yeah, we all know what's going on.
Is like, you know you're fucked, buddy. So this is entertainment.
Oh, dude, I hope you weren't planning on going anywhere on the road. Well, I'm a comedian. Not anymore. Not for now.
Hey, that's the great thing is openers now. I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. So it's all
opener with the car. Yeah. Actually, that is not a bad idea. There you go. Look at that.
Beauty. Get all excited. All right.
Jesus Christ, he's excited. That was the thing too. Is like it was like they always have that joke about like when you're in a band, the guy who's in the band is the guy who owns the van is usually gets in the band. But I think it was with comedians too. It was like one of the first pieces of advice I got was like get a reliable car.
That's what I remember.
You will work.
Yeah. And now like being the other side of it, I was saying, oh my god, see just how true that is. Someone has a vehicle, great.
Yeah.
Like, or it can even someone just rent a car. Then I love it.
That's the great thing. I mean, it's like, I drive too much. I used to. I don't anymore. Since COVID, I don't drive as much on the road. But I used to do like these hours and hours long drives. And I just think to myself, it's like, yeah, man, it would be like nice to have like an opener with me. But then again, I do stupid runs. I'll do like 15 hours in a car and do 2 shows or whatever. And like nobody wants to do that because nobody else is stupid.
That's insane.
And I do dumb shit. Yeah. And I'm like, I'll drive. So I'll leave Vancouver at 5 a.m. I'll get to Calgary, grab a shower, do a couple shows, and then go out drinking, and then drive to wherever I'm going the next day with a hangover. That'll be fucking good, right? And I'll just do that for my 30s, and then I guess
your standard for a short drive is so crazy. Like you would drive 4 hours, do a show, and drive back, and that would be easily.
Oh yeah,
to
for
me,
sure.
That's insane.
Yeah. Well, that I think I always had the feeling of like, because I would sometimes like I once got off stage in Manitoba and drove home. Like drove home and like after just because I was like, fuck it, I don't have anywhere to be. All I got to do now is just stop at gas stations, get coffee, and just fucking drive.
Because like it'd be all right. I'll be up for hours in my hotel room.
Yeah, or
so I could wake up. So by the time I go to bed, I could very well be home already.
Right.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
why
At
not
that
do
point,
that?
well, if you're within 5 hours too, I mean, yeah, that's no. I mean, I think 4 or 5 hours is the cutoff. Like I think because after that, like the problem is too after shows. I don't know if you're like me, but like I'm not gonna sleep for hours. And like I have adrenaline now. I'm buzzing. And that's one of the reasons I used to stay out drinking too. It's not necessarily that I wanted to do drinking. I just didn't want to go back to my hotel room and just sit there in the dark. Yeah. Be like, what the fuck am I doing?
Turn the lights on, Simon.
I didn't realize that. I sat there doing this, and they did no clapper.
He didn't know about switches. He only knew about clappers.
You know what? One time I tried to turn on the air conditioning by accident. I just sat there in the cold in the dark. It was real sad.
Why did clapping, turning things on, only stop at the light?
Well, because I mean, you don't want it like working on like your defibrillator or like, what about your refrigerator? That's a great show. And the refrigerator's like, yeah, the clapper. That's a risky thing because it's responding to sound. Right. So if your dog barks too close to it, your fridge turns off.
And even the light clapper probably got annoying after.
I don't know.
Was that the way with the clapper? Was it a sound? So like,
what sound? Yeah.
Really? So any kind of sound could just do it.
I think so. Yeah. Basically, it had to be a certain pitch, but yeah. Do you remember the commercials for the clapper?
Oh yeah. Of course.
Do they do infomercials anymore? Is that a thing?
Yeah, they're they're on like still like 4 a.m.
Because I don't have live TV anymore. I don't watch TV.
Man. All the stuff that you could that you need and you can get for seller easy payments.
Someone told me this.
I feel like it's social media now.
And this
social
makes
media
sense.
is now infomercials.
So this makes sense, and I don't know if this is true, but apparently one of the reasons, like you watch the infomercial, like, have you ever had this happen? And someone tries to cut it to me, and they just stab someone in the face. I'm like,
yes, it did.
Like,
yes, it
does. Like try to open a doorknob, and their hand falls off. Motherfucker! I'm injured here. And then but apparently that's because what they're doing is actually advertising to people with disabilities. Is it hard for you to get into the bath? And then they can't be like, hey, Criplo,
right.
You know how you can't walk? Check this out.
So they're like signaling to low functioning
Yeah, they can't
people.
do that. Well, it's not that. It's just people who have disabilities who are incapable of doing certain things. They're like, hey, this is why this knife is good for you. Because it's shaky. If you slip and you accidentally stab yourself, it's plastic. But it cuts like not plastic. And that's what someone told me. And then it was like, made perfect sense. And then I felt really bad for making fun of infomercials, which I've just done, which is great.
I did too. I didn't understand that.
I didn't know that.
I buy everything I see on these infomercials.
Do you?
And they fit perfectly for my lifestyle.
Well, I mean,
my life is way easier as a result of
sloth is a disability. Just flat out lazy. Hey, are you lazy? Snuggy's not a disability. Snuggy's a too much Mountain Dew thing.
Explains why their excitement is really childlike of things.
It's true.
Actually,
yeah,
that's the other thing too. Is maybe that's the thing because America has such an epidemic of obese people who are. It really limits their ability to function. Maybe that's why shit like the Snuggie exists.
Well,
I mean, honestly.
That's why the obesity in America. What store is it? Fuck, I don't even know. Like some grocery store, and they had like all those the carts out front. You know, and here if you have a mobility cart, it's because you have mobility issues.
Yeah.
This is just for fat people.
Oh, okay. Fat carts.
Yeah, and just like I just loved it. Like, and
where's this store?
Fat people carts.
Fat people carts.
Like, I don't know.
So it's basically just like Walmart has those.
Yes.
Where you just sit in them,
Yeah.
and it has a little basket on the front.
Yes.
But it's not because...
The number of them, like their shopping carts, was just literally just for overweight people. And I don't know. They didn't say here, hey, super fatties, take this. It's just
deduced.
Like exactly.
Yeah.
And they're all just like it was amazing to see. Just that's why I realized the cultural difference here. It's like here, if you're riding one of those, you have issues.
Yeah.
Maybe you have like something you go to a doctor for. Not like I like Cheetos.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is like, it's funny because my son has just discovered the movie WALL-E, right? And we didn't know whether to watch it because one of the reasons we didn't know whether, because he's 5, one of the reasons we didn't know whether we wanted to let him see WALL-E was because it's such a depiction of like people who have basically over the last few hundred years, people have devolved into these just slugs that live in the, it is, but then again, it's also not, because now rewatching it, I was like, it's actually a very optimistic thing of like, it basically says like, you know, capitalism is a control system like everything else, and it's a way of, and what's happened is that people have just given up so much that they end up giving up their own bodies and they end up giving their own independence and because of convenience and what they're told and it's funny because they travel around in these floating seats with these screens in front of them, and even when they're standing next or floating next to someone, they don't talk to them, they talk to the screen, and I'm like, that is now, like that's not That the weird thing about that is that's the world he's growing up in.
I did that in the cab on my phone. I just had my face on my phone.
Right. Yeah.
But it's true. Like you do. Like I mean, it's like you get to a point where you're like, well, hold on a second. Like now, texting has eliminated more human contact. Like it used to be phone calls. And then, and I mean, we've talked about it before. I have certain anxiety with phone calls, even though I do prefer phone calls. I also don't.
Yeah.
Because I find that like texting is like, I don't know what it is about it. Maybe it's just having the record of it or whatever it is. Although I do erase all my texts because I'm a fucking psycho. Which apparently I didn't know I was a psycho until who was it told me I was a psycho? Darcy or somebody said somebody told me I was a fucking psycho. I was like, I erase all my texts. They're like, why would you do that?
Zero like, text messages on his phone.
I was like, I just erased my text messages.
Why?
Immediately. Because if we've gone through this before, but the listeners and viewers at home are going to be very angry with me again because I am a logical person. I am an atheist. I really am. I don't believe in anything spiritual. I don't believe in that, but I also have OCD, which means I have magical thinking, and if I don't erase the text messages, I'll have a bad set.
Well, it doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't. No, that's the great thing about mental illness. It doesn't have to make any sense at all. Mental illness makes no sense at all.
But somewhere in your mind, though, that it has to make sense to you somewhere. Somehow, those two thoughts became connected.
I don't know when, but there's just become, and then the routine of it. So it's like literally to the point where like I will wear the same thing on stage because I'm afraid that if I don't, I will have a bad show. And an older comic who's a very good friend of mine once said to me, he's like, I think we're past the lucky shirt stage of our career. I was like, oh, we'll never be past the lucky shirt stage of our career. Like I literally am that fucking weird. And I don't want, and the thing is, I know I'm, like the other day I was about to go on stage. And this happens when I'm mentally fatigued, right? Like, so I was doing 2 shows in a night. We did an early corporate and then a late show. And right before I went on stage, and also me being unstable makes me funnier for some reason. I don't know why. And so before I went on for the late show, I literally had not, because we did the 2 shows for the Goodnight Wall to Wall comedy. I had 4 hours of sleep. 5 o'clock, I'm in the morning, off to a ferry. So tired. Get to the hotel. Hotel's a fucking piece of garbage. Have to move to a new hotel. It's all fucking whatever. So. And that was me booking the hotel because I went on Expedia, and it was 3.5 out of 5. I'm like, oh, that's fine. It says it's clean.
That's great.
What was the final straw that made you rebook the hotel?
Jizz.
How much jizz, though?
Mine. No, just on the
You complained about up front about your
on the other side of the runner. You take them off the bed. You don't leave the runners on the bed. You take them off the bed, and underneath the runner, I'm like, well, that's not yogurt, dude. Like, man, I don't know what the fuck that is. And then go to a second room, which is almost as bad as the first room. I'm like, I can't. I had my wife and kid with me. I'm like, I can't do this.
No.
I can't have him.
Howard Johnston and Nanaimo?
Can't have, no, close. I can't have him think this is where Dad's career is at. Right. So I was like, fuck it.
And if you miss his birthday, he'll be like, is he at the hotel?
There's some moments in your career where you go, this is how I know I've actually got some level of success, is I didn't ask for my money back. I was just, fuck it. And I just went to a new hotel. I didn't even want to get in an argument with the guy. I was so tired.
Yeah.
I was like, keep the $34. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't know what I expected. But I literally was just at that point where I was like, fuck. And it sounded like my opener, who was at that hotel, actually got a good room. I think I just got 2 bad rooms. But I was like, fuck it. So I was so like beat after the early show, and then I was like, I had drunk quite a bit at Wall to Wall, but I wasn't hungover or anything. I didn't get drunk. I just drank one of every novelty cocktail because I got to do it. I got to make my way through the list.
There were 35 different novelty cocktails. So.
and anyway,
all which doubles.
I don't remember, but the fucking thing is walrus. It's wall to walrus. And anyway, but before the second show, my eyes are like red because I'm so tired, right. And because of the lighting in the bathroom, I'm like, oh, my eyes are yellow. Oh, my liver's failed. Oh, fuck, my liver failed between shows. Like, I literally was like, that stupid. And then to the point where I messaged my mom, because I'm still like that point where I'm like, I know this is insane, but I need to message someone this just to read it to know it's insane. So, and she's like, she knows I'm crazy, right? Because she made me. She knows I'm crazy. She's like, it's her fault. So I'm like, you got to deal with this. And so I sent it to her, and she's like, yeah, you're not, what are you talking about? I'm like, I know I'm insane, but I just wanted to let you know I know I'm insane so that now I can be like, I'm insane. And then I went up and had one of the best sets of my life. And I'm like, great, awesome, fucking great. But the whole time during the set, I'm like, hey, you should have a soda water. Is it like all of a sudden that's going to fix it?
Right.
Like, hey, horses are way gone. I'm just nailing the barn clothes. I'm like, you should have a soda water instead of a Michelob Ultra, which basically is water. And fuck, man. And it was just like, I'm like, I know but at least at that point, I know when I'm doing something crazy.
Yeah.
Because I'm heavily medicated. But yeah, there's like stuff like that. You don't have any routines or anything?
No.
You don't have anything you do? Like superstition?
I need my room to be neat.
Oh, well, that's okay, but that's just being neat.
Yeah, that's sort of like I think it's like the physical manifestation of, again, my mental ducks in a row.
Yeah.
That's
like
good.
so it's like, all right, like I know that I'm like, yeah, because if I'm similar, like if I'm scattered mentally, I know that like, if I'm in a rough place, I'm gonna be funny. But
Yeah.
something about like if I just have everything neat, I don't know why. It's just I know like, okay, I'm on top of things. I know like I'm where I need to be, which is I mean, at the end of the day, I know it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But it makes me feel organized and ready to go.
But order is good. I think that because like because I have so much chaos here that I am quite fastidious about organization of things at home and everything. Like I have to be like my car has to be clean and my computer desktop is very tidy and I like my wife's phone, she has like hundreds of unread emails. I'm like, how the fuck do you exist like that?
So if you have a bad set, you're like, it's those emails.
Anytime anyone shows me their phone and they have like 500 in the red, I'm like, what the fuck is going on in your life? Like I'm okay. This like I will read my junk mail just to make sure that it says read before it goes in the garbage. So it has to make sure that it says red before it goes in the garbage.
I have a question about your deleting. Do you delete them as they come, or once you're done the conversation?
Once I'm done the conversation.
Okay, there we go.
Because I need to make sure I'm finished. And then here's the even stupider thing. If it's something that I know I'm going to need, I will take a screenshot of the conversation and then put the screenshots in photos and then erase the conversation. Because apparently the photo's fine.
But you have screenshots of all these photos? Of all these conversations, I mean?
But you don't delete the photos.
No, not until I'm done with the photos.
The level of deceiving yourself.
I know. It's a next.
And the amount of space you're wasting.
You don't even know how crazy you are until you say it out loud to other people, and they look at you like you just landed from the moon. Like, what the fuck
Like now
do
we
you
know how
do?
someone can be gay and tell themselves they're not. Like that's the same level of thinking.
It's like, oh man, I sure do love the taste of dick, but I mean, I can't have any. You know, it's like because I don't want to have a bad sex.
Closeted message habit.
Yeah. So then I'll erase, but there's other things I do like that too. Like I have to, like for years I had to have a set list in my pocket, even though I would never look at it. I just had to have it there. But I think that's a safety blanket thing. That's a little different.
Yeah,
maybe.
I remember
That's
that
a lot
for, like,
different,
the
I'd
first
say,
few years.
than deleting all your messages.
I've got a level of crazy shit. Like I do some stuff that I'm just like, why do you have to have
That's
three
probably a
pens
good
and one
recurring
pencil?
question to ask. What's your craziest trait?
Because I don't think you know until you tell someone. Like, I mean, because I think everyone really close to me in my life is just used to that I'm weird like this. They're just like, this is what it's like, and it's not like it's not negative. It doesn't affect anybody negatively. Like, it doesn't hurt anybody. In fact, most people wouldn't know unless I mentioned it. Because you're not going to look at my phone and be like, why doesn't he have any text messages? You'd be like, oh, no one talks to this fucking guy. Which makes a lot more sense. Because he's crazy. That's why.
I like hoard text messages, as I said last time, just because I'm afraid of someone lying to me or gaslighting me. So I keep my text messages.
But he said that, and then Darcy and I were both like, well, that's fucking insane.
Yeah, no, and I didn't realize. I'm like, I thought that was just
Like, you've
diligent.
got forensic files going on in your phone.
Well, that's logical. That makes sense. Like,
I think everyone's lying to me, though. That's also like
That's
kind
a
of
little bit weird, yeah.
I mean, Mike's just got vindicism that he wants to get out. And he's like, I just want to use this. I want to use this as evidence. So 9 years from now, when someone says things, like, actually, it was rubber ducky. What are you talking about?
As a matter of fact,
That's actually what it was. Yeah, it's mainly my sisters and stuff, but yeah.
That's good. So it's family as well.
Family, yeah.
That's good.
Should we get random?
What time are we there?
We got about 20 minutes left.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's time. Let's get random. And we don't explain what this is, and the look on your face. I love this because I always think I should explain this, and then I don't. What this is a little while ago I found online.
Okay, sorry.
I found online a random topic generator for people who are having hard time having conversations. So it's uncomfortable for them to have conversations.
Can you imagine those dinner parties?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what it is, and it has all these different things like relationship stuff and like how to talk to kids or whatever. And so what we do is we just put it on everybody, and then it randomly brings up a topic. Some of them are great, some of them are not. And for my users at home with Asperger's, I'll put the link underneath, so you know how to talk about. But and then what it is we just talk about it.
And it was funny to picture someone try to use this question in the middle of like a party.
Or you're on a date. You're on a date and struggling. You're like, well, so Jennifer, this doesn't really flow well. So I have this website I thought that we'd try. Here's one. Abortion. Okay.
Yeah, that's a heavy. Imagine if it was just heavy topics. Like it wasn't just light conversation. It was all like really heavy.
It's random. It could be abortion. It could be bunnies.
Is the Pope a human rights criminal? All right. All right, so what's our let's get random topic today?
All right, this one is, these are so generic. What's the most refreshing thing on a hot summer day?
Most refreshing thing on a hot summer day?
Yeah.
Jesus, this is difficult.
Right?
A nice cold drink of lemonade
Oh, that's nice.
in my mouth.
Yeah, you got to put that in there because you don't want to be like cold drinking lemonade that I submerge myself in.
What do you do with it? Just having it? No, I like to drink it.
And hide and jump out and scare senior citizens. The most refreshing thing on a hot summer day. I mean, it's all going to be water or liquid related, isn't it?
I would hope so.
Because no one's going to be like, you know what I like?
Air conditioning could be.
Big bag of desiccant.
What if you went to a room with air conditioning?
Air conditioning's cool, but then that is water related because
cool.
it's condensation. It's condenser, right? So it's like it's.
Is that what it is? Because I thought, what about the chemicals? And there's some kind
Well,
of.
this is Freon, isn't it? Freon.
Yeah, I don't know what Freons are. That's where my knowledge of them ends.
I don't know nothing about air conditioning.
Freon is like it's a liquid coolant it's a refrigerant that you find in like things like air conditioners. That's a good example.
My girlfriend's allergic to air conditioners, so
Allergic to air conditioners.
summer is great.
Oh, that's a fucking
Aretha
nightmare.
Franklin didn't like air conditioners, but I think it was that she just didn't like because they dried out her voice.
She gets hives. So like,
Really?
it'll be really hot in the car and turn on the AC, then she starts getting very unhappy. Like, oh, this is great.
Is that true?
It's very absolutely true. Yeah.
Well, at least you don't have a license, so you don't have to worry about it.
And the heat dome last year.
Heat dome. Fuck, I forgot about that.
Luckily,
Heat dome 2021.
luckily for her or for me, I don't know. Like she was at her folks' house, which was in the basement, so she didn't need it. But I was here suffering, and so just the other day, I'm like, oh, we should get in there. See, forgetting her problem.
Yeah.
And she's like, no. And then I realized, holy fuck! Like, so we get another heat dome. Like, we just have to fucking suffer.
Yeah.
I have to suffer every summer for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Because she gets like these fucking horrible hives.
Yeah, and but you can have a nice, refreshing drink of lemonade. Have you thought about that? But I love the idea of you just pouring all the lemon, like to the point where you shut your kidneys down. You drink so much lemonade, and you're like, oh, it turns out I'm allergic to lemonade.
I get
Kidneys
this.
are broken.
She's not only is she allergic to the air conditioning, she also gets rashy from heat. So
Heat rash.
but not
I get heat
actually
rash.
but like any like artificial sort of temperature, basically, she is allergic to.
So like an electric fireplace, no.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, actually,
she can't be
I've
hot
never
and she
been near
can't
an
be
electric
cold?
fireplace. I don't know, but like a heater, like that'll
Yeah.
bother her. She
That's
gets
sassy.
Yeah. So it's
You got a very
That's
sensitive.
love. You must
got a
love
very
her very
sensitive-
much if you kept
got
it
a
on
very
heat.
sensitive epidermis.
like she once got licked. She gets licked by a dog, and she did like just most sensitive skin of anyone I've ever met.
I get bitten by a dog. I go around biting other people. I don't know what that's about.
When I like dogs,
I don't want to drink water. I bite people. It's fucking weird. And then I'm better. Like 3 weeks later, I'm better. Imagine if you get rabies like a cold, and I'm fine. I'm fine. But I do bite a lot.
How late in the relationship did you find that out? After you moved in, or?
Well, no, I noticed. We went to we're on a
Went to Ice
trip.
Capades and she freaked the fuck out.
We stopped at a gas station. We stopped at a gas station going to the Okanagan and the one in Princeton.
Yeah.
Chevron on the right side, as you know. And there's this puppy there.
Shout out. They're sponsoring us.
Puppy Elixir, and then just fucking. It was like she had been. Like,
Really?
Instant reaction, yeah. And then
She's got very sensitive skin.
incredibly. And then just as I come to see, like she's like this with everything. Like, yeah, it's really. Yeah, you gotta love her to go through something that's that difficult.
That's a lot. Like that's intense because like I mean I find that air conditioners will dry my throat out. Like if I get off out of a car ride for a long time, I'll have dry eyes and but I have contacts stuff. But that's just because it takes the moisture out of the air. That's its thing.
See, I don't even notice stuff.
does.
Like everything's just what it is. I don't really. It doesn't.
That's the way to be though. Because this is all a simulation, and the computers don't want you asking questions, right?
Well,
Like I was basically like this isn't even a podcast. I'm just sent here to make sure you're not Neo. That's all I'm here for. It's like you
am
know
not
what?
the one.
I'll just go back and report. Don't worry about that fucking guy at all. He's fine.
Far from the one.
You know what? Give him lemonade and find him a girlfriend that likes air conditioning. That's all he wants.
I almost killed my during the heat dome for us. We bought an air conditioner and I
you
set
lucky
it up,
son of a bitch.
Yeah.
and it wasn't working. And it's because there was a plug in the vent. So essentially, no air was being pushed out, and I was just shooting hot air back into our fucking thing. And I thought it was a filter. And Lindsay's like, "What if you get rid of that thing?" I'm like, "It's a fucking filter." And then one day the house was like so hot. We slept in the bathroom, and the dogs weren't doing well. And I'm like, "If it's a filter, it should be able to blow through it." So I went to go blow through it. I was like, "Oh fuck, we have not. We've been heating the house throughout the fucking heat dome."
So you're like, not only is there a heat dome, I'm gonna Mikey this up. I during the heat dome, I just I'm partly from hell on my father's side, so for me it was like really nice. It was like being home, you know. It was like,
like childhood.
and it was just like nice. It was like I was just like getting ready. I was like I had my pitchfork out. I was like this fucking nice, you know. I'm so glad we weren't doing really that many shows then because I get hot anyway on stage, and I can't imagine doing a show with the heat dome. Because the heat dome is like, but if there's any more indication that shit's going south, it's that we all have heat dome stories.
Yeah. And they're making up terms for the new level of heat. Like,
Yeah.
I don't remember, there used to be heat waves, and I was like, no, there's just a dome of heat.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
And then it's just soon is going to be like, and all next week is fuck. Anyway, and then we're going to get a little rain on the Wednesday. And it's like,
There's gonna be a little. There's gonna be 10 feet of rain.
I used to have a joke about a crying weatherman. I was like, that's when you know shit's fucked. He's like, I don't know. Please stop sending letters to the station. I don't know. Something refreshing on a hot day. I like how I haven't even answered it yet, but I've just been shitting on your guys'
Yeah, no,
answers.
it's pretty general. I scrolled through a lot, so I just had to get one. But
Something refreshing on a hot day is like, I think it is probably drink related. I mean, it has to kind of be at that point because like putting cold liquid in your body, like putting cold liquid
would cool you
outside
down.
of your body is good. But I went swimming once when it was really hot and the ocean was hot. There's nothing worse than you get in the water.
Where was this?
Soyuz.
Well,
Oh,
there's
not
not
the
the
ocean.
ocean.
Sorry, the lake. Not the ocean.
get your body of waters right.
Oh, God damn
Was it a
it.
lagoon? Was it
The
a
lake was
I
hot.
love that lake. That's the best lake in
It was
Canada.
a great lake, but it was hot. And then I went in the lake, and it was like, then why did I get attacked by a shark? Anyway, so I went
A shark is some dude biting people.
the shark's like, you like biting people too? Fuck, we should hang out. I was like, hey, shark, how are you doing? Everyone's like, why are you using the shark in the lake? I'm like, that's why he's dead. And then it was so hot that I was like, it's actually it's more miserable being in the water because you just it's this hot outside and then hot bath water. And this was like 6 years ago.
I was gonna move to Soyuz right
Really?
before I met my girlfriend. I was like, "Fuck it, I'm done."
The Soyuz.
Yeah.
You couldn't because you can't do air conditioning. So
For
you can't
anyone,
do it.
for anyone who's listening at home, for the person listening at home, Soyuz is a little town halfway between basically Vancouver and like Creston or something. No.
Yeah.
It's a weird. Yep. But
Everyone's like,
that
what's
sounds smaller
Creston?
than Creston.
Okay, so what you want to do is you want to go to you're in Princeton, you want to go to the Chevron, and then what you want to do is take a
Then
right.
go an hour and a half. Continue. I loved it
It's
there.
a small town. Was it like 20,000 people, 15,000?
No, it's probably 5 to 10. But it's relatively close to the Kelowna Airport. If
Yeah,
you
that's
need to
true.
fly. Affordable. Like at the time, I actually could have like you can own a home there. I'm like, fuck, I get to live here.
Yeah.
And
Own a home?
yeah,
What?
yeah, man. Like I'll just
You
be
can
this-
do that?
I'll have a house. I'll have a house in Soyuz. At the time, I had 2 cats. So I just be that like this is my life, and
Yeah.
I can like I'm on a highway, so whenever I need.
You
to
could
go
have
to
afforded a
shows-
third cat.
Could have got 3, maybe 4. No, 3.
You don't want 4 cats. It's
And
fine,
then,
so-
yeah, literally, I met my girlfriend maybe like, but not even a month later. I'm like, oh, okay, plans have changed, but really happy to do that.
And now you're not a landowner.
No, it's live
So
in the
you
same
don't have a
place.
vote.
It's still the same place.
You can't vote. Isn't that how it works?
That's how it works.
I still vote anyways.
Oh yeah, you. Yeah,
I
you
love
gotta win
Canada
there.
so much, I vote 3 times.
You vote 3 times. Yeah, vote 1 for each party. Be fair. That's why. Wouldn't it be great if-
Always the People's Party. That's
That'd be
all
the
I
most
vote for.
Canadian thing ever. If every election was just a tie. I don't know how the fuck I do this, but everyone was just. It's not fair. And everyone's-
I vote. I'm a vehement People's Party.
Canada just wants to be bronze medal with everything. We just want to be third. That's our thing. Because second, it looks like you're trying, and first is like, who wants the hassle? And fourth, it's like, no, we're putting effort in. Third is just good. Canada, third. It
what?
sucks that we're the second largest country in the world. We could have been the third largest. That would have fit our whole thing.
The whole thing, yeah.
No, maybe we should give some of it away.
Who's larger than us?
Russia.
Ooh, they're
A
gonna
lot.
They're going to
like-
get bigger
they're
too
a
soon.
lot
Way
bigger.
bigger.
They're going to get one Ukraine bigger than
Well,
us.
maybe we should. Maybe, but that's the thing is, like, America. If all America has to do is take on Puerto Rico, I think they're bigger than us, because we're very close to the same size as America, or United States of America.
I
think.
it can be the Puerto Rico.
But we don't live in most of
I
them.
don't know. It's right on the edge, though. It's a pretty close bubble. I think it's like 300 kilometers.
Well, then we can get what's that?
Mikey, could you look that up and see how
yeah.
big, much bigger Canada is than? This is my first time I've ever done the Joe Rogan.
The Jamie.
Jamie, pull that
look
up.
it up.
And get a picture of a chimp too.
But we
Chimp
get
arm
Turks
wrestling
and-
a banana or something.
We have rights to Turks and Caicos.
We do have rights to Turks and Caicos, which, by the way, try those with a 7-Eleven crab. The Turks and Caicos. Mikey's Googling something for us. I got nothing for a hot summer day.
All right, I have another question. While I look
China
this
is
up.
pretty big too.
China's pretty big, yeah. They're pretty big.
You know, a lot of people there. I got over like 3 million people.
So we're in geography?
3.5. People
While
at
I
home
look
just
this up,
freaking.
I'll ask you a random question. What's a crazy, ridiculous thing you've got in trouble for at work or school?
Rape.
Jesus.
Crazy how I got in trouble for that. Man, they're like, seriously.
Straight to the Weinstein.
So is that work or school?
All of them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's going to be unilateral.
Just some people just.
I think we may have found the promo clip for. It's just turned into a true crime podcast.
Possessed me to admit that. No.
Now we know why you were moving out of town. Like, I gotta get out of town. Me and my cat's gotta leave. I gotta pass.
What was the question? Sorry, just again.
What's the worst thing? What do you
do at Christmas? And you said rape people.
Yeah, no.
Right.
What's the thing? What's the most? What have you? Worst thing you've gotten in trouble for at work or school or home or whatever?
Well, I don't necessarily get in trouble, but I was in grade 5 or 6. And I was going home one day and had a whole bunch of homework. And it was a windy day. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, I dropped my binder. Binder fell open and my elbow work blew away. Like, gone. Not even chaseable. So I'm like, as I'm watching all this stuff blow away, I'm at one point horrified. At one point, this is fucking awesome. Like, my homework is literally blown away. This is how I got the world's best excuse. So all excited, I go to school the next day. And you're like, oh, so where's your work? I'm like, it blew away.
Yeah.
And did not believe me, and I got in trouble.
Weirdly. Strange they didn't believe you.
That's the fucking thing.
Did you show them the empty binder and be like, well, how would I have this thing?
But that was like, I don't know if that was the beginning, but that was definitely like a turning point where I realized I have these things that happen that don't seem believable, but genuinely did, and then no one would believe me. I'm like, what the fuck do you do in that? Like,
yeah.
So I'm in trouble for something that actually happened.
Yeah.
And so that's homework blew away.
I like the moment of young Brett trying to contemplate whether it's chaseable or not. And then it blows away, you're like, nah, it's gone.
In reality, it's probably just like...
And nothing is more humiliating than chasing something being blown away.
Especially if they didn't want to catch.
I like the idea through in my head, even though I know it didn't happen. In my head, it just all blew away as the same lump. Like it just jumped out of the binder, just stayed together somehow, and you're like, hey, just stop that. Fuck it. And then, but there's some kid out there who just got great marks because they're like, I'm never going to be able to come up with this homework. I'll never be... What?
I tell you, they did not get good marks.
They just blew schools. They just blew in. They turned it in and ended up in the special class. What the fuck happened to me? It's like, God, if you can hear me, please help me pass this exam. Oh my God, this is amazing. Turn it in.
So you get in trouble basically for telling the truth.
Well, apparently, according to this Bert or whatever.
That happened to me. I cheated off someone who I thought was smarter than they were. They just had neat printing, and I cheated off them and I failed.
They just had neat printing?
Like, she's an idiot. She's an idiot.
This is another thing about me that's so fucking weird. I was never late for school once.
Wow.
I never cheated ever.
What?
And I dropped out at 16. So it just goes to show you follow the rules, you end up here. And
it's like you follow the rules so much.
I never
by 16,
cheated.
You're burnt out.
I never cheated. I was so smart, Mikey. It was just no point, you know. Like, I would cheat. The teacher would cheat off me, and she'd be like, "What are the answers to this?" And she'd just write it down.
A lot of work to cheat on something. You'd have to literally like.
I worked so hard to cheat. I was like, me and my friend like.
Had like a mirror on a stick.
It was insane. I should have just fucking studied, and like I had systems and stuff. Did you ever cheat?
No.
No, you never cheated.
No, I should have, but no, I didn't.
Yeah, well, especially after the homework thing, you're like, if you're not gonna believe me, I mean, it's like, oh, did you cheat? No, I fucking got blown away. I don't know.
Also, never crossed my mind to do that.
Never crossed your mind to cheat?
No.
Yeah,
that was the only way I was going to get out of this fucking hell.
Yeah, I'm like that too. I was like, for me, it was easier to quit than try.
Right,
so I just
there you go.
Like I literally was like, hold on, if I keep doing this, it's not gonna go well. The best case scenario, I'm gonna graduate, but it's gonna suck. So what I'll do is I'll just leave and then figure it out, I guess. And
was there a moment where you made the decision? You remember, or was just?
Yeah, because someone actually told me I could leave. I'm not kidding. I turned 16, so my birthday's in September. And in the beginning of grade 11, and I turned 16, and I basically had a conversation with someone. I said, oh, I fucking hate this place. And they're like, we're 16 now, right? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, well, you can drop out. I was like, I can? And they're like, yeah. And I just was like, all right. And I got up, and I walked down to the office. I was like, I'd like to leave, please. And they're like, what? And then this is how stupid it was. I didn't even realize it. You could just stop going. You don't even have to go.
No,
I didn't realize that.
Declaration?
No. So what happened was I was just like, I'd like to stop being at school, please. And then they're like, you have to get this form filled out. And the whole thing, I was like, I did it. I went around to each of my teachers, and they had to sign off that I could leave. And some of them were like, grab the form out of me, get the fuck out of here. And some of them were like, why do you want to leave? And I was like, well, these ones that are scribbled very rapidly, they don't want me here. But then I realized, I'm like, why the fuck did I?
You went through the process of leaving.
I did. I didn't even have to do that. I
got
could have just been like,
leave.
what I should have done is gone to the office and, by the way, I have this reason to leave. just
You
fucking
just
walked
don't
out.
go back the next day until they stop calling.
Just don't go back. And then they'll be like, oh, he was probably dead. And then they would have left me alone.
Your family got flowers for free.
Yeah, they would have got. Yeah.
So what
I
did
never
you
thought
do?
about that. What did I do?
Yeah.
I went home, and I kind of was like, all right, well, it's the morning, because as far as I can remember, I went home and I was like, all right. So my mom's gonna be cool with this, I think. My dad is not gonna be cool with this. Correct. And I was like, because I don't know what I want to be. I just know I want to be alive. So I was like, I probably better leave school. And it took me a little while. But I'm also one of those people where I'm like, I take a while sometimes to make a decision, but when I do it, I pretty much do it. And it's
Did they make you get a job or something?
Yeah. I mean, it was one of those things where like they did and they didn't. Like my mom's in entertainment. She's artistic. She understands. And she was like, you need to figure this out. But they also have their own lives going on, man. Like they were doing their own thing. And it was very much like I was always very self-propelled anyway. So it wasn't like it was that much of a shock that I had done something. And it was just like kind of, well, he'll figure it out. And then, proved you wrong. I didn't figure it out at all. But it was literally one of those things where it was like I think I almost needed like a gap year from myself. I needed like a year off. And it was by the time I was sort of 17 or 18 years old, by the time I was like 17, I was like, all right, I'm working, and then I was 18, and I got my first real job at 18, my first regular, like, full-time job at 18, because, not part-time. And then I met my first serious girlfriend, and then that was it. I was kind of like a grown-up at that point. But it was that step. And then I did go back to school. Weird. So my dad was very, very unhappy with me leaving school, and so I was like, well, I'll go back. There was this fine arts school. I was like, I can go there. They need like kind of a teaching assistant. I'd been an actor for a while anyway. And I was like, well, I can go in and I can help out a couple days a week, and then on the sly I can get my high school diploma, because I'm not going to do distance learning, because I did try that. And I was like, that's not going to work. Because this was before the internet. Back then it was just, it was all pigeons. You had to tie the thing to the pigeon and it had to go. It was fucking hard. And I went there, and then I was sold a bill of goods, because when I got there, I was just like a regular student, but I was like older than the other kids. And I was like, fuck this. So I was there for like 3 months and I left. Although they were really good. Had I been in that high school, had I been in that fine arts high school my whole time, I would have had a much, much easier time. And I probably would have graduated. But then, I am who I am. I've learned more being out of school than I would have being in school. I think I would have enjoyed university, but I don't. Other than that, I'm pretty happy. Like I just, I learn what I want to learn now, right? Like I'm shit at math. I don't know numbers, but I like learning other stuff, right?
Putting in your brain the only things that you want to know is the great way to become, learned.
Yeah, you just become. I mean, it's like all you got to do is throw some big words in there, and you're Jordan Peterson. It's not that hard to do.
Simon, you were
Bloody
right.
hell! Oh my bloody hell! Hey, bloody fucking god! Hey, all the people out here, the bloody ladies. Hey,
sorry.
No, Russia was the biggest. Canada and U.S. are tied in 3.8 million square
Canada and the
miles.
U.S. are tied. I thought we were slightly bigger.
They're slightly bigger, so
Yeah.
you're right. If they took over the Puerto Rico,
It would be really close.
they would
Yeah,
fucking take it.
I like how we did the accent there.
Sorry, yeah, I
I'm not
didn't
gonna
mean
bleep.
to.
I'm not gonna bleep it out either. You gotta wear that.
Nailed it.
Where are we at time?
We're good.
Is there anything you would like to plug? Where can people find you?
I don't know. Home or work?
Okay, well, I don't think you want people coming to your house.
Oh,
Because both of my listeners are in prison, as far as we know.
I guess my.
So I guess you could tell them.
My YouTube page.
find you.
What's your YouTube page?
Well, there's Brett Martin, I think, comedy for my stand-up, and then the Brett Martin Show, I think it's called.
Oh
My
yes,
talk
the
show.
Brett Martin Show.
Yeah.
You have a fantastic talk show. I totally forgot to talk about this.
Do have. I don't know what's going on.
Are you still doing it?
I
It
still
will
hope
always
to.
be.
It's so great.
Yeah, it's like the pandemic got in the way of it.
Go see the Brett Martin Show on YouTube.
It's not actively happening, but the plan is not to be done with it at all.
But the old episodes are up, right?
Old
So
episodes
then
are
go
up.
see the old episodes of the Brett Martin
And
Show. It's
all we
so
actually
funny.
have up is we did episodes during the pandemic, taped in front of no audience. One was in my parkade.
That's what we're doing now.
And the rest was in Keno. And I
love it.
It's so we'll be doing it again at some point. Still working
Parking
on that.
lot talk show. I like that.
It was the parkade
I do
special.
like a parkade. I do like a parkade talk show.
It's
and your stand up. Do you have an album out, a special?
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
And I need to actually.
Then they would like to know what it is.
Oh, what's it called?
Comedians and
called-
Yeah, you're like,
self-promotion.
yes, I do. And then you move on.
It's not as good as my new stuff. Free trips to Afghanistan. It's on iTunes and all that shit. I'm ready. Another thing. I was ready to record my next one before the pandemic, but that's been scuttled. But but now, I really want to get this next one out.
Brett Martin Dreams of AC. I like it.
Funny, I don't have a name for it, but that'll be
Dude, well, let's come up with a name for it right now.
jokes about things.
Jokes about things. That's actually not bad.
It's not good.
Jat. Brett Martin Jat. Jokes about things.
Oh, well, I'll figure out something. It has to be a very cumbersome name to fit with 3 trips to Afghanistan.
Brett Martin Burt Motrin. It's just your name crossed out and Burt Motrin written underneath.
Well, now the pandemic's over. I feel like the next, I probably feel the same as you guys. Like, all right, like shit can finally be rolling in. So
Yeah.
I feel like, I don't know, like life, me and everyone else, life really got fucking thrown aside, but it's
well, you're a fantastic comedian, and you really are, and you're one of my favorite people, but you're also one of my favorite comedians because you do things that are very, I don't know, you have like a real passion and something, because a lot of people like kind of, especially like ranty comics or anything, they fake it a lot of time. It's not real, or they don't have that passion to them. They don't have, and your comedy has a lot of depth and a lot of passion. I think often about the pizza slice thing. I don't know why. And is that on the Free Trips to Afghanistan?
No, but
That's such a fucking good joke. And then the I'm a banker, which is every time I walk here. I think about I'm a banker.
And being late for work, when you're late for work, and I can't believe you're late for work. And like, believe it or not.
We're just
I don't wanna
fanboying
fucking
hard
be
over your
here.
jokes now. That's all. We just brought you into
Like,
fanboy over your jokes. But no, so good and so funny. And I've seen you crush so fucking hard so many times. And people need to know about you. And so 3 or 4 more people will know
6
about
more
you.
people will know.
Oh, it's weird. Like again, the pandemic really like I can't have a pity party because everyone on Earth has been affected by it.
And we
I was
didn't die
fine.
from it. So
I was fine. I got royalties off COVID, which is weird. And the whole time I was like, Omicron's making me a lot of money, so I'm like sad, but I'm also like got a new house.
I invested in hand sanitizer, so I'm doing.
You
just
son of a
fine.
bitch. I feel like I'm got so far away from stand-up, but on the flip side of it, in the times I've been back to it, like I love it more than I loved it before.
Oh,
I
fuck yeah.
appreciate it more than I ever appreciated. And,
I feel like that too.
the new
I feel like
perspective I have that I needed, and I'm really looking forward to being as in and committed to it as I was before. And
Fuck yeah.
it's getting back to that.
because you're like you and I are similar, if I can humbly say so, in terms of like just being road dogs and like working that level and being just not a lot of us left, and I think about that a lot. I think about like that generation, our generation of comedians might have been the last one that lived that life.
Well, he's truly committed. Like,
No,
truly
I mean,
committed to
I'm truly
stand-up.
committed, but I mean, doing it the old way we had
I've
to do
thrown
it,
my life
which was
away.
like before the internet, before self-promotion. There was no other choice. It was just like
Right.
Get
growing
good.
up to that. Yeah, it was just get good and then get better and then get better again. I
And
mean,
then
I
be
always
ignored.
say, I always say like be undeniable is a bit of a psyop. It's really easy to say be undeniable when you're on the other side of that, but like, oh, there's no gatekeepers. Be undeniable. Really?
Yeah.
Really? I'll name you some gatekeepers. You want a list of gatekeepers? I'll fucking give them to you.
You guys will probably be bitter when they have driverless cars and people are complaining about the road. Like, I had to get driven 8 hours to Quesnell and back by a robot.
I had to plug in for 30 minutes. I only made 500 bitcoins for the whole show. Future comics. Anyone from Glorbnab? Oh, there's all these Glorbnab guys in for the Saturday Late Show, for the Friday Late.
Yeah, the show in the metaverse, the crowd was brutal.
There's gonna be metaverse
It's already
comedy.
here.
It'd be
It's
nice
already
if we don't have to go anywhere. Just
Yeah,
do
that'd be
it.
great.
But that'd be hard.
I don't know.
Did you do any Zoom shows?
Yeah, I did some.
I did one, yeah.
I did some. I
It was
didn't
painful.
like it.
I did it for charity, so I had an excuse to put
Fair
myself
enough.
through it. But,
I did
That's
it
a
for
good
money,
reason.
so I didn't have an excuse.
God, I couldn't get over the fact that I'm just talking my phone in my living room.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
I did full act outs. I felt like a fucking crazy person. I'm like,
Well, I was
Blinds are open, people are watching. So what the fuck's wrong with this guy?
I did a few, but I also did like a character thing where I do this like thing where I do like dirtbag Santa at Christmas time. So it was really just me roasting people's staff. So that worked okay because it was really just me shitting on people. So if you want to sit down and just roast people, but for my style of stand-up, it did not work. It did not, because it just looked like something was wrong with their computer. Like it was like the lag was intense. It was like he's moving really fast.
Yeah, but how long is this lag? I've been waiting 10 minutes for laughs. None are coming.
Yeah, it must be loading. I don't know why I'm looking at my wrist. I'm like, someone's going to watch. Well, thank you so much for being here, bro. I really appreciate it. Will you come back and see us again?
I no.
Come.
No.
Okay. Yeah, no, fair enough. We get that a lot. We get that a lot. When the special's recording, when you're getting ready to record the special of the album, come on and we'll promote it to both people, and then they'll come.
That'd be great.
And I'll come, and then Mikey. So that's 4 people right there.
I'll
Maybe.
be there.
That's
And
already,
your landlord can come. That you have the impression of.
Tomo's
Impersonate-
left.
Tomo's left.
Tomo.
Tomo's
I know you got Steve. I don't want to talk about Steve.
The sun will come out.
So
tomorrow.
here's my impression of Steve. I'm a bad landlord.
Yeah. I'm a bad landlord. That's actually weird that he says that when he, hey, I'm Steve, I'm a bad landlord. Anyway, the rent's due on the 1st. You're like, oh my God. And then him just like putting padlocks on the dumpsters. What the fuck are you doing, Steve?
He accused me of, okay, quick story. There's all this garbage. all his garbage was strewn all the way in the driveway.
Yeah.
And so he concluded that it was me who had done it because he found a piece of my mail in the garbage.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, guess what?
ya.
Guess what, Steve? I fucking live here. Of course, there's going to be my mail in the fucking garbage because that's where I put my garbage, you asshole.
Yeah.
And not only did he think I did, he went telling other people in the building that I went through the garbage. I've lived here for fucking 16 years, and you really think one day I said out of the blue to fucking rip through the garbage when there's it was obviously one of the junkies that does this all the fucking time.
Yeah.
But like,
What did he say to your logic?
Nothing. He was convinced. Like when someone's convinced of something, you can't sway them.
I like the idea that there's a raccoon sitting across the street in a van watching your house.
But can you imagine being so fucking dumb that you find someone's a piece like, well, hey, you know what, Steve? You also found fucking toothpaste in there. Did Crest do it? You stupid fuck.
It's a little weird for him to tell other people about it.
Yeah, that's weird that he would go around telling people. Maybe he did it. Maybe he's just looking to frame you. Maybe it's a really who framed Brett Martin situation.
But you're putting too much credit for intelligence here. You have to go really low on someone's think of someone that's really limited functioning, and all of a sudden it starts making sense because he needs to start he's also talking about other people to everyone. I've heard of other stories. He's
That's
just
how he gets off. It's a gossip.
You know what you should do?
So
Here's what you do. Here's what you do. Take some of your mail, put it in the washing machine, watch his head explode.
He's laundering his mail.
He'd be like, why would Brett Martin be washing his mail? And he'd be like, I told you, Steve. And then blame it on Putin. But just put put a note in the garbage that says I did this. I'm Vladimir Putin, and just watch him be like,
There must be Nazis in this dishwasher.
There's Nazis in the dishwasher. That's a good place to end.
There we go.
Thank you so much, Brett Martin. Thank you so much, Mikey Greenwood. You can subscribe to the podcast. Please do on youtube.com/the Citizen Strange. You can send us a letter at www.skpodcast@gmail.com, and make sure that you go on patreon.com/This Is Simon King to get the 1 or 2 or who knows how many bonus episodes. Bonus episodes every month. All Edinburgh. And the bonus episodes are fantastic and rare. Go on the bonus episodes there, and you can follow the podcast on Instagram at www.skpodcast and on Twitter at www.skpodcast. And I will hopefully see, well, I won't see you, but hopefully you'll see us because you're watching this, not just listening to it. But for now, that's what's wrong this week.